when you're trying to grow your business or thinking about ways to market, don't think about social media as it is today in this silo, but think about it in this opportunity of, are my consumers extremely passive or are they extremely active? And what percentage? And where? And what does that look like? Well, what I've seen is you'll hear people talk about integrated marketing mix and all that sort of stuff, and multi-channel marketing, all very, very true. But we still have this world where it's like, oh, social media is like this strange little world that resides over here, and it's simply not the case. Like Twitter is really fun if all you do is creep on Justin Bieber or follow the Pope or things like that. But you're laughing because the true value in Twitter isn't in creeping on those people, it's actually in interacting and creating content there, right? Like Facebook, after watching all those people from high school that you swore you hated, but you're just looking at pictures of them to see if they got fat, after a while it sort of wanes. And you're like, Facebook is only really effective if I start doing things with it. Those become very active media. And my concern and fear is that a lot of brands that I see out there today are trying to create what I call the Frankenstein effect. And the Frankenstein effect, owning an agency, is when you go to a client and you pitch 3 ideas. And they say, oh, we like the creative in this one, and we like that part of that one. Is there a way to put them on? No. Like, you don't ever want to do that. It's a terrible, terrible thing to do. And this is actually a trend in the West Coast right now, right? It's like, how many of you would like to have this as your workstation? I'm sure there are a couple of you who'd like to burn some calories while you work too, but this is a Frankenstein world. And while there may be some people who greatly benefit from this type of working scenario, I would argue that there's a majority of people still that really need to have this divisiveness between their passive and their active media. And I think the challenge we have in this room, being mostly new media people who are interested in Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Pinterest and all these cool things, is don't dismiss traditional media. There's a value in that. In fact, as someone who spends a lot of time in new media, I can tell you that the predominant core of valuable content that creates discourse and conversation online is actually driven by mass media. And it's driven by mass media because there's a mass line of curation and quality and skill. And so while I'm not here to get into a discourse as to what the definition of a journalist is versus a reporter and things like that, we have to be able to also accept that for us to get better at creating content in the online world, we could learn a lot from people who do it professionally. And that it's not just simply because, oh, I have a blog, so therefore I should have the same credentials as a journalist. That's not at all the qualifications here. Anybody can buy a scalpel. Would you like to have a surgery by one of those people, right? It's years of training, there's years of work, et cetera, that goes into this process. And so for me, the excitement of our media is actually new, because this new passion I have is in looking at media from both being passive and active and what consumers do with it. Now, the cool thing about that is I've seen amazing examples of things happening in places like Facebook and Twitter where brands have done very passive things that have worked, which is really interesting, right? It's like they're actually leveraging Facebook to do branding mechanisms. Now, we would look at that and go, what a waste. I don't think it's a waste at all. I think it's a smart and intelligent way to leverage the platform if you understand the values and why you're doing it and how that moves forward. So what's going to happen next, I think, is most interesting, because we can sort of look at it and say, fine, we have passive and active media, but then what does marketing become? I think what marketing has a massive opportunity to become is a utility. In fact, I call this utilitarianism marketing, which I totally agree is not the sexiest term, and hopefully I'll figure out a better term for by the time I get to publish my next book. But can you imagine actually marketing providing a true utility to consumers, like something you would actually use and want to use? Now, the reason I'm on this kick is because when I look at brands and marketing and media communications, what you learn prior to the web is that the most valuable things brands actually have, especially ones that deal consumer to consumer, some B2B, is real estate. It's their ability to have a physical location where consumers are. It makes sense, right? Walmart's a client of ours. It's one of the biggest things they have. Their ability to be present where there's a mass amount of people so that they will come into the stores. Well, I think we all know that there's a new real estate, and the new real estate is actually this, right? It's these devices. This is the new real estate, but the real real estate is the home page of this device. It's when you hit that button, what happens? And so if you start thinking about your brands, be honest. Do you really think your brand has something that would get somebody excited to be on that home screen all the time? It's like most brands are like, no. And the reason most brands freak out when I talk about this, like, I don't think I have a brand that could do that, is because, one, they know some data. You know the data? Most people who download branded apps don't use them. Have you heard this stuff? It's like 25% of people who download a branded app never even use it. I think it was 1/4 of people who download a branded app use it once and never again. That data is wrong. Do you know why that data is wrong? That data is wrong because they're not talking about apps. They're talking about crappy apps, right? We all use apps that are awesome, and there are many, many awesome apps that do amazing things. This is actually one of my favorite apps that resides on the home screen of my iPhone. This is an app called Sit or Squat. Now, how Sit or Squat works is wherever city you're in, you hit it, and it knows your GPS, it knows your location. And what it tells you is how close you are to a bathroom that's clean. And yeah, and you're all downloading it right now, right? So when I travel and I'm in New York City or Chicago or San Francisco or LA, this app is holiness to me. It tells you, and by the way, it's built on a wiki platform, so I can rate the toilets, I can add comments. If the toilet isn't there and it's clean, I can add one. Now, for parents in the audience, it'll also tell you which bathrooms have changing tables for your family. If you need a handicap accessible bathroom, it tells you that too. This is an app by Charmin. Toilet paper. I mean, if a toilet paper brand can get this stuff, why can't you, right? And let me tell you something, when I am walking down those aisles at Walmart and I'm doing the toilet paper aisle run, it's not just Magesta or the cheapest one that's on sale. I'm actually actively getting Charmin because of the tremendous value and utility that they offer. And there are brands that are offering utility in very, very powerful ways. LodgeNet is another one, an obscure one you may not have even heard of. LodgeNet is basically the in-room service that you get in the hotel on the TV. The pay movies, right? Oh, sorry, the porn that you all order on TV. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah, that, okay. They have an app called Go Mobile. So what happens is you download the app, and it gives you a code on the TV, and you type the code into your iPhone, and your iPhone becomes the remote control for the TV. Now, this is awesome because I travel a lot, and I come into the hotel room, and I don't know how many channels there are, and I don't know where CNN is, I don't know anything. Suddenly now I can just scroll through all the channels with the menu and see what's on it. It's got power, it's got a snooze, it's got the volume. I could even look and see which movies are in that hotel based off of the city I'm going to if I want. That's tremendous utility. Now, does this mean that I'm only going to stay in hotels that have LodgeNet? No. But I mean, here I am talking about a brand that's actually providing a true utility. See, this is well beyond marketing and advertising and communications. It's an amazing power that you all have in this audience. Every single one of you, no matter what business you're in, has the ability to offer a consumer complete and powerful utility. This isn't about just broadcasting a message or telling them how great you are very subtly in a blog post or having them retweet an article that you thought was interesting to create some sort of rapport, familiarity. This is about core utility stuff. And the brands that do this are the brands that are going to be awesome at this. Last example of utility and the power of doing this is Nationwide. I can't even get Nationwide in Canada, but I have this app on my iPhone. Why? Because it's a car accident reporter. So basically, anytime you have a car, you get that little sheet that you put in the glove compartment. Hopefully, you never have to use it. Well, this thing is awesome. If, God forbid, you get into a car accident, all you do is hit the button, and it immediately knows your GPS. It'll ask you, do you need to call an ambulance or 911 right away? So you just hit the button, it automatically does that. It tells you how to walk through the accident, meaning take a picture of the car, take a picture of your car, take a picture of their license plate, take a picture of their license plate. It tells you to take a picture of the person you got into the accident with. Now, ask for permission first before you do that. Just don't shoot away. But all of this stuff, do you need a tow truck? It's the process of what you need to do, a complete utility from an insurance company and the value it gives. So ultimately, when it comes down to this sort of web and this new media, here's where I want you to start thinking about things. There is this idea of passive media. There's this idea of active media. There is this complete conversion of a world that is taking place in the palm of our hands. And it could be your iPad and your smartphone or anything like that. But here's the perspective. This isn't the bubble. You know, the old bubble of the web that we knew, I think at the time we had about 30 or 40 million people online when the bubble burst, having broadband internet access. Currently today, we have 1.5 billion people connected, high-speed broadband on their smartphones alone. Now, I'll leave you with this little staggering chart, which I know you can't see, but I'll walk you through it. What they're looking at is they're looking at putting global mobile content into context of what's happening in the world. So on the left, you're seeing the population in billions. On the bottom, you're seeing the different parts of just different segments. And on the right, you're seeing the penetration rate. Mobile subscriptions is the top left. Do you know what's after mobile subscriptions? I don't know if you can read that. It's electricity. Do you know what's next? Safe drinking water. Do you know what's next? Bank accounts. So when you start looking at your business and how you're trying to bring it forward, stop looking at social media as this opportunity to connect with people on Facebook and start understanding that we have already gone through this massive shift where people are connected in ways in which we never knew before. And the opportunity is there for you to actually create a complete functional utility within it and not to just spam people or annoy them with retweets or try and get them to follow you. I hope you enjoy 140. Thanks very much for your time.